When they teach you about the Cold War, they talk about Fidel Castro smoking explosive cigars and the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've always been told that the world was divided between two superpowers, the United States and the USSR. Well, all of that is complete bullshit. The biggest geopolitical player of the 20th century didn't sit in the White House or the Kremlin. The final boss of the Cold War sold carbonated water with way too much sugar. In 1989, the Pepsi brand literally owned the sixth largest naval power in the world. They had attack submarines. They had battle cruisers. To understand how we ended up giving weapons of mass destruction to a company that makes commercials with Michael Jackson, we have to go back to 1959. We are in the middle of the Cold War. The United States and the USSR hate each other, but they're trying to pretend to be civilized. So the Americans organized the American National Exhibition in Moscow. The Americans' goal? To flex. They want to show the Soviets that capitalism is awesome because we have washing machines, color TVs, and cars that don't break down every 2 miles. Except the Soviet leader, Nikita Khrushchev, takes this humiliation very badly. He gets into a public argument with Richard Nixon. The tension is at its peak. And this is exactly when our hero steps in, or our supervillain, depending on your point of view. Donald Kendall, a Pepsi executive. He sees that Khrushchev is sweating and angry. He walks up to him like a dealer outside a high school and hands him a little paper cup. Inside, ice-cold, sugar-packed American Pepsi. Khrushchev takes a sip. His pupils dilate. His Soviet brain, used to boiled water and cabbage, discovers the magic of high-fructose corn syrup. It's love at first sight. Capitalist sugar has just hacked the Eastern Bloc. Fast forward to 1972, Donald Kendall has become the CEO of Pepsi, and he achieves the impossible. Pepsi becomes the very first capitalist product legally sold in the Soviet Union. Coca-Cola is absolutely devastating. The Soviets become completely addicted. They chug millions of gallons of soda. Pepsi builds dozens of factories in Russia. It's the ultimate jackpot, right? Well, no. There is a major technical problem. The Soviet ruble. At the time, Russian currency is blocked. It cannot be traded on the international market. Outside the USSR, a ruble has the exact same economic value as a Monopoly bill or a water energy Pokemon card. Pepsi cannot cash in its profits in dollars. So how is the USSR going to pay for its sugar addiction? By using the only currency it possesses in astronomical quantities. Vodka. This is the start of the most absurd barter system of the 20th century. The deal is simple. For every liter of Pepsi syrup sent to the USSR, the Soviets give Pepsi 1 liter of Stolichnaya vodka. Pepsi brings the vodka back to the US, sells it to Americans, and cashes in the dollars. It is the biggest legal drug trafficking ring in history. Sugar for alcohol. For 15 years, the system works perfectly. Nice. But in the late 80s, everything derails. The Soviet Union is on the brink of collapse. The economy is in ruins. Plus, Americans are boycotting Russian vodka because of the war in Afghanistan. Pepsi can no longer sell the alcohol in the US. The contract between Pepsi and the USSR expires. The Russians need to renew the deal for $3 billion. Gorbachev opens the state treasury. There isn't a dime left. No more dollars. Vodka is no longer enough. But the Russians are thirsty. They consume over 1 billion bottles of Pepsi a year. If they stop supplying it, there will be riots in the streets. Gorbachev rummages through the USSR's attic. What do they have left to trade? Russian nesting dolls? No. Weapons. The Soviet government offers to pay for its soda with warships. Donald Kendall looks at the contract and says, "Deal." The USSR officially hands over to the Pepsi brand 17 attack submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer. The second this contract is signed, Pepsi becomes the 6th largest naval power in the world. Can you imagine the insanity? The CEO of Pepsi could technically launch a naval blockade on Coca-Cola factories. He could declare war on Denmark and win. And the worst part is, the CEO of Pepsi totally owned it. When the U.S. National Security Advisor asked him what was going on, Kendall dropped the most gangsta quote of the entire Cold War. "Hey, we're disarming the Soviet Union much faster than you are." So, what did they do with this invincible armada? Did they colonize Antarctica? Did they force the whole world to drink Pepsi Max at the threat of nuclear torpedoes? Unfortunately, reality is much less cinematic. Pepsi had absolutely no use for an aging, rusting attack fleet. Like good capitalists, they immediately sold all the submarines and ships to a recycling company in Sweden to be turned into scrap metal. The military empire only lasted a few days. And to top it all off, in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed for good. The world changed. The market opened up. And guess who rushed into the gap in Russia? Coca-Cola. In just a few years, the big red rival flooded Russia, destroying the monopoly that Pepsi had spent 30 years building. Donald Kendall lost everything. That's the end of the story. Pepsi no longer owns weapons of war. Well, at least that's what they say on paper. But never forget today's lesson. Junk food multinationals have absolutely no limits. In 1989, it was Soviet submarines for soda. Tomorrow? Who knows what could happen? Maybe right now Starbucks is manufacturing killer drones. Maybe the Burger King holds the nuclear launch codes. So next time you order a combo meal, stay polite. And if you're at the beach and you see a Pepsi-colored periscope rise out of the water, run. If you survive this absolute madness, smash that subscribe button and drop a like. Or I'm sending a Pepsi nuclear sub to your exact coordinates. See you in the next one.